Hello there guys, Francis Gray here, and it's officially October, which means Halloween, which means a Halloween build. So in this video we're going to be taking this giant prop spider and we're going to be pimping it out into this monster. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll see you at the end. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I bought one of these big prop spiders. Now this is how it comes shipped in the box. So all these individual legs all just unfold like that, and then by the time you've got them all out, it's a nice, quite big, impressive display. So I do like it as a spider, as a skeleton. But I do think this would look a lot better if I actually made it out more like a traditional spider. So there's a lot of potential for detail in this one. So first things first, now they made this look like a bit like a rib cage. Now in real life I very much doubt it's anything like this, but it does look cool. But we are going to foam fill this inside. So I'm just going to use some of this stuff, which is this is No More Gaps expanding foam. And then in order to keep it contained, what we're going to do is we're going to carefully wrap some cling film around the sides, and then we're going to poke a hole, and then I'm going to spray the foam from the inside, and then it won't expand out over the rib cage. So that'll make this all one big, thick, solid piece. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some regular duct tape to secure some of the areas. Okay guys, so at first glance I think that should work rather nicely. So I've left a gap here, so that's where I can get the nozzle in to spray to spray the foam. So hopefully this will do the trick. So we'll do that in the next stage. Okay guys, so it's been a while since I used expanding foam, and in hindsight I totally forgot that to get better results you're better off spraying it with the can upside down. It just seems to come out a lot faster and a lot better. So a little bit of a tip there for you.
Tomorrow for sure.
Okay guys, let's go ahead and open this up and see how it looks. Okay guys, so at first glance it's worked pretty good. It's filled out this bottom part.
Bottom.
Really nice. There is a little bit of a gap hole here, but the main hole is at the top up here. So yeah, so those might need, well, they will need refilling in again. So yeah, so for the next stage I'm going to go back in with some more expanding foam and we're going to fill out these side bits. So I ended up putting the expanding foam wherever I could, really, wherever I saw a gap. And as you can see there, it accumulated out the sides. Now obviously I didn't want to just leave that to harden as is, so while wearing the silicone gloves I went in and I just basically mushed it in amongst the I suppose where the rib cage parts are, and it just goes ahead and just unifies the piece a little bit better. Okay guys, so for the next bit, now there's a lot of screw holes on the underside of this. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to fill those out with just some regular wood filler. Okay guys, so now that we left the wood filler to dry overnight, the next day, because it was quite decent weather, I decided to take it out into the garden and use my Dremel tool to smooth down all the areas that were now blocking over the screw holes. So yeah, there's quite a few to smooth down, so it did take me a while, and obviously you don't want to go too heavy and accidentally cut into the plastic, because this is hollow plastic, so you don't really want a gaping hole. So you might notice my dog Harley in the background, just walking around and yeah, having fun. Okay, so at this point I'm going back in with more wood filler. Again, I'm using a silicone glove, and I'm just mapping over all the bumps and lumps just to try and make it a little more smooth. And this will take a while to harden this. I'll probably go ahead and leave this probably a good 2 days to make sure that's definitely solid. Now the only thing that might be a problem with this is, with it being hollow plastic legs, I don't want the main body to be too heavy, because I don't want to put like added strain on the legs. So I can see some of this wood filler and some of this plaster actually needing to be taken back off at a later date. So we'll get on there now, smooth it all out, make it all look nice, and then I'll go back in soon with maybe like a finger sander or something like that.
One eternity later.
So what I thought was going to happen did happen. The back end was too heavy, so I did leave it a good week to fully everything to harden, because there's no point sanding it if there's like wet weak spots underneath, because you'll just rip it out and you'll knack your finger sander in the meantime. So yeah, so I left it a good week to harden, and then took it outside. Again, it was another half decent day, so I decided to get the finger sander out and take my time and take off as much of the wood filler as possible. And there's also quite a few chunks of the expanding foam as well, and just basically whittle it down back to the basic rib cage kind of abdomen, and just lighten up as much as possible, so it's not as much weight overall. Okay guys, for the next part I brought it back into the garage, and I decided to do some good old-fashioned paper mache with some just regular watered down PVA glue. So just bits of newspaper dunked in, and then just put it in place, make sure the parts overlap,
and then just build it up slowly and then leave it to dry, and then you've got a nice smooth surface to work from. So it gets rid of all the bumps and lumps, and now that we've whittled down all that wood filler and filled out all the gaps with it, it's a lot lighter now, so it's not as much strain on those long skinny legs. So at this point I decided to go in and add a thin layer of paper mache around the legs as well. Basically that was for two reasons. One, it helped hide where we put the wood filler in, where the screw holes are, so it helped hide them, and it also helped hide the seam lines where these where you can tell that these legs or these bones are two-part molded. So just goes ahead and just makes it a little bit more tidier. So for the next part I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to add like a protective layer to keep all the paper mache in place. So I just basically went in with some regular wood glue or white glue, and I used a latex glove and just took my time and made sure that all surfaces were coated. So I'll go ahead and I'll leave that to dry, and then we can start thinking about adding some paint. So for the next part I wanted to go ahead and use some of those comical googly eyes, and just applying with regular super glue and just applying some of the smaller variants of those googly eyes. Now don't worry, it's not gonna stay googly eyes, because obviously I want this to look scary or look cool. So as it is, looks a bit comical. But don't worry, because we're going to be painting over those with some black paint. So for the next part I decided to go in with this, which is a flexible fabric paint colour brown from Paint Factory. And basically it's like a rubbery latex paint that you apply. You're supposed to apply it to like things that you will end up being moved, like belts or shoes or something like that. So it is quite hardy paint, but in this scenario I think it'll work great as an undertone brown base tone to the spider. So I ended up using 3 cans of this, I believe, and yeah, and at this moment I'm going in with the same variant, but this time it's coloured gold. So I'm not going to go too heavy with this. It's just going to be like a light spray, just add some highlights to the legs and the back of the abdomen there. So yeah, at the moment it looks a bit too gold, but there's method in my madness. So for the next part I'm going in with some soft cream from a tester pot from Wilkinson's, and then I'm adding like a base tone of like an overall flesh colour. And I know spiders aren't a flesh colour, but it just unifies the like all the layers together, but with the added like gold underneath. It gives like a shimmer effect. It's not picking up on the camera, but you do see it in real life. But it's not going to stay like this. This is just to unify it all together. So I'll explain more as I go on. So at this point I decided to go in with a watered down black acrylic paint wash, and same again, just go over all surfaces on the top side and the underside and wipe away the excess, and it basically just makes it look a little bit more darker and a bit more, I suppose, grimy. So it's an important step, but it will get more highlights later on. So this spider's not going to be black, the spider's going to be more like a browny colour overall. So this is just to bring the paint colour scheme down a couple of notches. So for the next part I'm going to go in with some mud brown from Vallejo airbrush paints. So for the next part I'm going to go in with some surface primer, which is a much richer, darker brown than the mud brown. So this will add some nice highlights to the spider's body pattern. And for the next part I'm going to go in with some orange rust, again from Vallejo, just to add some more highlights. And for the next part I'm going in with some rust. And for the next part I'm going in with some black airbrush paint, just to add some dark shading and also to add some various markings on the spider's abdomen. And for the next part I decided to go in with a normal paintbrush and some just general black acrylic, and then just add like a darker tone to all the darker areas that we've painted with the airbrush paint. So this is just basically to give the spider its markings on the back of its abdomen. Okay, so for the next part, this is the part that I was looking forward to the most, which was laying a base coat of black over the eyes. So as you can see there, because we've added those 4 eyes to the top, that's made this spider look a lot more menacing and a lot more creepy. So just general black base coat, and I'm also adding a little bit of black to any bumps and lumps, just basically taking advantage of any surface detail that I can, just to make it look a little bit more realistic, I suppose. And then I went in with just some regular yellow from a tester pot, and I just started to add some various highlights to the abdomen. I started off with the underside, and then I flipped it round, and then did the back side as well. And I just started off with a general dry brush of a general circle, and then left that to dry a little bit, and then I went in with a smaller brush and then just added like a triangle of 3 dots on each one, basically just to give it a little bit more of a highlight, a little bit more of an interest, but also make it look a little bit like it's venomous in nature. So here I'm going in with some beach satin, and it's from Wilco's, and basically this works as like kind of like a varnish, but it's got a brown tinge to it. So it's obviously made to darken and protect wood, but in this case it'll help strengthen the spider. It'll help keep all like the paper mache parts rock solid, and also it gives it like a wet moist look, which makes it look a little bit more alive, or a little bit more natural rather than like just a static prop. So yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to coat both sides, and then we can crack on with the next part. So for the next part, I'm going to go in with an old unused brush, and as you can see there, that's very fine bristles, and I think that those cut off and added in sections will make excellent spider's hair. So you usually see with some spiders that they are quite hairy when you zoom right in, and I thought that adding a little bit of hair would be a nice little added realism or a nice touch. So I'm going to go in with the exact same beach satin varnish, and I'm just going to apply like a base coat down first. Use my plier tweezers to cut a little strand off, add it in place, push it on down. Don't get every single piece laid flat, because you want a few pieces to like be stuck in place, but like be extruding up to give it that like untamed, wild, random hair look, rather than, you know, nice and straight. So yeah, so just applying it from the bottom, working up. So I make I'll add the first layer down first, then I'll add the second layer, but the like 1/3 of the second layer will be overlapping the seam line of the first. I hope that made sense.
What?
So yeah, it takes a while to do, but it's definitely worth it in the end. Okay guys, so for the next part I went ahead and added a bit more varnish on the top of the fangs, and I cut off some really fine small parts to the brush, just the brush ends, and same again, I applied it on the top part of the lip just to mimic the hairiness of the fangs that you sometimes see on most arachnids. Okay, so for the next part I decided to do the same idea, but this time small little fibres to the underside of the spider's, well, the abdomen and the part where all the legs conjoin. Just same again, it's just I didn't want it to be too long at this point, because whenever you were going to handle this, I could see either like the bristles being quite taut and stiff and, you know, prick you, or you'd end up accidentally ripping some of them off, and that'll take some of the paintwork away. So I thought just little fibres was the way to go for this part. So, with talking about accidentally ripping it off and messing up the paintwork, I decided to go ahead and go over the bristles that we've added to the top of the abdomen of the spider. Same again, just another coat of varnish, just to keep it, I suppose, more stuck in place and a bit more protected. And yes, I like to say it worked a treat. So for the next part I got a tester pot which is titled Flintstone Grey, and I decided to do a simple dry brush over the fangs, basically just to separate them and make them stand out slightly from the rest of the spider. And also I didn't want it to get lost in amongst the eyes, I wanted it to stand out separate. So yeah, worked a treat. And at this point I'm going in with some scissors and I'm just basically trimming down some of the fibres or some of the hairs. Basically it's just it was just annoying me that it looked a bit too long and it looked a bit too wild. And I know, you know, obviously spiders won't have access to hair gels and stuff like that to make it nice and smooth. But yeah, I just think it looks, the shorter the hairs, I just think it looked a lot more menacing and a lot more better rather than the shaggy mess that was going on at the time. So yeah, so took me time, just trimmed off the excess parts that I didn't really like, and all's well that ends well. And for the next part I went in with more black in the airbrush and just darkened everything down just to unify the paint job. And for the next part I went in with some UV resin and then applied it with a brush over all the eyes, and then just basically used a UV flashlight to solidify the resin. And what this does is it gives every single one of the eyes a nice wet natural look to the eyes. It really brings pieces to life rather than just leaving the eyes dull, or even if you just give it a couple of coats of gloss varnish, the UV resin actually works a lot more nicer than what just normal varnish does. So yeah, so if you're into building miniatures or if you're building props, I would strongly suggest trying UV resin for eyes over gloss varnish, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay guys, I think it's finished.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Me personally, I had a blast with this. It's nice to do something just prop related rather than model kits all the time. So if you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and share on Facebook and Twitter, because it helps new people find the YouTube channel, which I'm always appreciative. Thank you for any help. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds. So once again, I'm Francis Gray, and this is the Giant Spider video. I'll see you in the next build.